Today's guest is one of the gnarliest ultra endurance riders in the world, a 3-time winner of the Silk Road mountain race and famous for his ability to battle pain, fatigue and endure long periods without sleep. He's definitely not like me and Elliot. We can't wait to hear what's next for this bikepacking legend. Welcome to Just Ride, Sofiane Sehili. How are you?
I'm good.
How did I pronounce your name?
You did it really well.
Yay! Amazing!
And it's not like you practiced 1,000 times before. You got it.
They didn't record that bit. They didn't record that bit.
Yeah.
Rob has been walking around outside pacing, practicing Sofiane's name.
Just 100 times.
So, Sofiane, I think one of the things that we love to do on Just Ride is understand how the person got into bikes in the first place. So, can you take us back? Because you have a pretty interesting background.
I got into bikes because I was a kid that needed to go from his home to school. And then I just considered bikes just as a means of transportation. And then it all changed one day when I was backpacking, emphasis on the backpacking in Southeast Asia. And then I was like, okay, something is missing here. And what was missing was a sense of adventure. And then I was in northern Laos, close to the Chinese border, and I saw a rental bike shop, and I was like, I'm gonna bike a secondhand bike there. And I bought one for $100, and then I rode it for 7,000 kilometers in Southeast Asia.
Wait,
That wrapped up.
Yeah, that was that because the bike kind of gave you that sense of adventure? I guess, what did you plan on going those 7,000 kilometers?
I didn't plan anything.
Yeah.
I had no plans at all. I bought it and was like, it's only $100. So if I get tired of it after a week, I don't care. I can leave it somewhere, give it to a kid, whatever. But that didn't give me a sense of freedom. And that's what I was really looking for in that adventure, in that trip. Because when I started, it was like, okay, here I am with my backpack, and every day I need to check the time of the trains, of the buses. I need to find a tuk-tuk to get to the train station. I'm like, what kind of adventure is that? I'm always in my little lonely planet trying to figure out the schedule. It's like, this is not an adventure. And then I bought the bike. I was like, there's no schedule anymore. Only schedule is get on the bike, go someplace.
Yeah. Where did you visit? That first trip, that first adventure on the bike. What were the places you visited in Asia?
So I bought it in northern Laos and rode all over northern Laos. I think I broke the derailleur on day 1 or 2. Day 1 or 2, like day
Classic
2.
bike.
Yeah, classic 100 gear. I didn't really expect much. So I ended up walking a lot of hills. Then I got it fixed in Cambodia, because there was no way you could find a derailleur.
As you do, the next country.
I was going to say, but is a derailleur a lot easier to get hold of in Cambodia? It can't be that easy, right?
Yeah, it is. You can find one, whereas in Laos you can't.
No chance.
No chance. So, and then I went to Thailand, I went to Myanmar, I went to Malaysia, Singapore. Yeah, just a bunch of places with that $100 second-hand mountain bike.
That is so cool.
That was actually too small for me, but I found that out later.
But at the time, it's funny because I think you had the experience that a lot of, especially people on this podcast, had when they were 5 years old. That experience of independence, of freedom, of not knowing what you're doing, not knowing about the bike, but it's just this kind of purity of that first naive experience.
Yeah, very naive and living for it's always like that when you're in these countries. They see you as someone that is very little capability. And you show them a road on the map, and you're like, do you think I could go through there? I was like, no chance. Never gonna. And I was like, I'll try it. Do I have lights? I don't. I don't have lights because I didn't expect that it would take me so long. And in the end, I needed lights, so I bought lights.
No way.
Yeah, you bought a headlamp. Well, it's Laos, so there's a lot of villages that don't have electricity, so they do sell headlamps. So I ended up buying a headlamp on day 2 because I rode well past the sunset. But yeah, it was It was the experience of, you know, making all the mistakes and not knowing much about bikes or fixing them or whatever. You know, like, all right, I'll wing it. I'll just wing it.
And you go home, and did the bike stay with you, I guess, or did you kind of go back to your normal life?
No, there was no way I could go back to a normal life after that. I was like, I found my true purpose.
Huh.
Like,
Did you during that trip?
Yeah.
That was it.
As soon as I started like bike packing and like really traveling somewhere far and exotic, I was like, this is it.
That was it. Done.
Yeah, it was like a revelation.
I'm living.
Yeah, it was like, this should be my life.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
this like it was not like I instantly knew it, but over the course of like a week or two, I was like, I'm feeling such constant joy and fulfillment and sense of purpose that there was no way I would let go of that afterwards. So I bought that bike and it changed my life. It like completely changed my life.
Because you already loved cycling though, because you'd used one to get to school and stuff like that.
Like
So it was.
I liked cycling.
Oh, you
I
did?
enjoyed it. I would cycle to work. I worked for a big magazine in Paris for a few years. I would cycle to work, and I think I was pretty good at it, pretty fast.
Yeah.
But it's not like doing that and cycling every day to work led me to doing more of that stuff.
I got you.
What led me to doing more of that stuff was like riding from point A to point B, and that point B being a different place every day, somewhere far, somewhere exotic, and just like it was the combination of the traveling and the cycling.
I was going to say,
for me.
what is it? Is it the physical effort that you love so much, the riding of the bike, or is it like the adventure where you're going that lights you up more? Which is the bigger factor in your enjoyment?
I would say for me, it's much more the adventure than the pure like effort of cycling.
Yeah.
I do like.
You must
cycling.
do. You do
Of course,
hours.
I love cycling.
You go.
But you know, when some of my friends and other athletes in the sport talk to me about their, you know, structured training and intervals that brings them to close to puking, I'm like, I don't do that. I don't do that kind of stuff.
You don't.
I don't know.
Never do intervals.
No.
It's like, why would
Like,
you?
yeah, that sounds awful.
I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah, I feel that.
Elliot feels our pain.
I feel that.
If something makes you want to puke, you shouldn't do it.
Oh wait, no.
I
Okay,
agree.
You have no foot to stand on because we will get to you being sleep deprived. Okay, but
Maybe I went too far.
if those are my two options, puking after
Yeah.
intervals.
No, the
or-
thing is, if I had to pick between like just riding my bike really fast, doing loops, stuff like that, and like being the best at it, or just being like a pure bike tourer, bike packer, never competing anymore, but always traveling, I would pick the latest. I would be like, okay, let's go and travel and discover, and that's what I really love.
And so you didn't, I mean, I think a lot of listeners are probably thinking like, okay, you've been pro for decades and things like that, but it wasn't really until 2020 that you turned pro. What happened in between that trip to Laos, you discovering the bike, and, you know, just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, what happened is, so I as I said, this changed my life, and then I went back to Paris a couple years after that. I did another trip, went back, needed to get back into, you know, working and earn some money, and then I tried working in an office, and it didn't cut it. After like half a day, I was like, I can't do that. Yeah. It's just like having a ceiling over my head. It was like, nope, don't want it anymore. So I became a bike courier. Became a bike courier.
What year was that then?
It was 2013.
Okay.
Became a bike courier in 2013. And so being a bike courier, you're on your bike 4 days a week. Then you meet other bike couriers. So you start riding also like either on Saturday or Sunday.
For fun?
For fun, yeah. Like you get really fit.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was maybe a bit better than the other guys. I was maybe a bit faster, and then I heard about ultra cycling, And what happened is I was doing something called the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route.
Yes.
Which is pretty much just an itinerary that was put together by guys called the Adventure Cycling America.
Right.
So
What is this? I've no idea.
It's like a non-profit. They just put together bike routes
Right on.
and they put together the GDMBR a long time ago. Probably I don't know, like 25 years ago, something like.
What's that then? That's a famous race, is it? Or
it's just an itinerary.
Yeah.
And
A route,
then
a route.
yeah, it's a route.
yeah.
And then a few years after it was published, some guys decided to race it. But what I did is I just heard about the route and was like, oh, that sounds fun. And I went there to do the route, just the route by myself.
Where's the route? Just start and finish.
Starts in Banff, Canada, and
Here we go.
finishes at the Mexican border in Antelope Wells.
Right, so it's an entire country you cycle across. Just to clarify, I had a feeling we were going this way with it.
It's an entire country that I was riding across for fun. And then I had no experience riding off-road. I mean, none. I mean, all of the bike.
So this was an off-road route or a road?
Yeah, it's like 75% on gravel and mountain biking.
No
trails.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, that changes things massively then.
It does, because I had a ton of experience bike packing on tarmac.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn on the job.
Right.
And I think over the course of the first 3 days, I rode 250K. I was like, I need to ride 200K a day, so this is not going to work.
Wow.
I needed to ride 150 because I had a month to complete the route. So I was like, I need to ride 150.
Hang on, it takes a month at 150
Well,
kilometers.
yeah, it's from Canada.
Yeah, true. I live on a small island off Europe. Is that right? It takes, hang on, that is...
So the route is
Good grief.
4,500 kilometers long.
Good grief.
So that's what, 25,000 miles, I think, something like that. And I had a month to complete it because I had to go back to my job as a courier. So I had to ride 150K a day. And after 3 days, I don't think I had ridden 300. So I was like, I need to step it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, but how am I going to step it up? Because this is brutally hard. And then I heard about guys actually racing this and riding more than 250K a day
Wow.
on these trails. And I was like, how is this even humanly possible?
So you, at that point in time, we're not going back that far. You literally
was 10
couldn't.
years ago.
10 years
Yeah.
ago, you couldn't even comprehend
No, I could not.
what the top
I was
guys
like-
were doing whilst you
I
were
was
doing
like-
that route.
I was
That's
like,
mad.
I ride my bike, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week. I'm one of the best bike couriers in Paris, which is a pretty big city.
Yeah.
I'm fit. I have a ton of experience as a bike packer, and I feel like I'm like so far from the guys that are able to race this. And I wanted to understand, you know? I was like, how is this even possible? So as I said, I learned on the job, I got better at it, and I started to get the hang of it. And then I was like, okay.
And what do you mean by
now-
that, though? You could extend the distance you could cover in a day, or
Yeah. There was days where I was able to ride like 200Ks, and then I was like, okay, I'm starting to understand how they do it. But there were also days where like, this is so hard, I'm never coming back.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're out there in the middle of nowhere, almost crying.
I remember being like at the midway point, and there's a place called wow, she's gonna kill me because I'm forgetting the name, and she's the sweetest girl called Kirsten. But she has a place there in which she welcomes all the racers and all the bikepackers, and I was there and I was chatting with Kirsten there, and I was like, there's days where I hate it, and days where I love it, and I'm wondering if I should come back and race it. And she looked at me and said that you'll be back and you'll race it. I was like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, I was back to race it.
Was that your first race?
It was my first ever race,
Really?
which in hindsight is a bit crazy.
It's a bit gnarly. Well,
Hang on, so your first bike race was from Canada to Mexico, just to clarify. That was the first time you raced a bike.
That
like
was my first time ever racing a bike.
Oh my goodness.
It was 4,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
Did you know at that point that you wanted to be a pro cyclist? I guess after that first time, or
No, honestly, I I didn't even think it was possible to become a pro at bikepacking.
Right.
So I did well for my first ever Tour Divide. I finished third.
Wow.
And
you went there to, why did you go there then? If you didn't sort of want to have a pro, just to see if you could do it, just to compare yourself to the top kind of athletes in that field?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, you need to realize that, so it was 8 years ago, and there was just probably a couple guys in the whole world that were pros.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
It was, so you were right at the beginning of.
So I was, it was really the start of a few guys starting making money with the sport. And so for me, it was never about earning money with it. It was just about,
Doing it.
but not just do it. Because when I set my mind to it, I was like, okay, I just don't want to be good at it. I want to win it.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I don't know, it's like I'm a bit competitive like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Tour Divide, I think I can win it. And so I went there, didn't win it. I finished third, but I was like, okay, I'm not that far from winning it.
Pretty amazing
There's
first
like,
attempt.
Yeah, there's like a couple of guys ahead of me, so I can get better, and I can go back and I can win it. And it was funny because what happened is like when I got into that bike packing stuff, I didn't really get into bike packing. For me, the end goal was just to win Tour Divide.
Yeah.
And everything that I did in between, it was like, okay, oh yeah, maybe I'm going to do this race, and then I'm going to learn from this race and get better. So then one day I can just win Tour Divide, and then I kind of like made a career out of it by accident.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, we had this discussion with Emily Chappelle and also Leo Wilcox, where they got into competitive cycling, becoming a pro cyclist like much later in life. Have you seen that in ultra endurance cycling a little bit? Like, I guess that you don't have a lot of 15-year-olds kind of saying, I want to ride across the country.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, what is the community like? Like, what does that look like?
You see that a lot because many of the top bike packers that we have just have a background as like bike tourers.
Right.
Or just travelers. Not a lot of them have a background as competitive cyclists, like either coming from road racing or mountain biking, because when you travel by bike, you build a lot of competences that you're gonna need in racing, and also that mindset that you're gonna need for bikepack racing.
Maybe now is a good chance for you to really explain what bikepacking is. So like we were talking before, and like my thought was like, oh, you carry everything, you go and camp. Like, what is the sport of bikepacking?
So basically, if you want to put it simply, you have a course. Everyone starts that course that is usually several hundred or several thousand kilometers long, and that usually takes up anywhere between 2 days and 2 weeks to complete. And everybody starts at the same time, and the first to reach the finish is the winner. And anything that you do between the start and the finish, it's unsupported.
Okay.
You need to take care of all your needs. You decide when you stop, if you stop, when you sleep, if you sleep. It's just like go, and then first at the finish. There's no stages. First at the finish wins.
Wow.
So any time that you're not riding is not good.
Right, and that leads me to ask, I've been dreading asking this question actually. So what's the longest in one of those events, in a race, you've ridden without sleep? How long can you go without sleep? Because sleep clearly is the enemy, right? You're not
Sleep
going
is the
forwards.
enemy. 'Cause as I said,
come on, tell me.
anytime you're not riding. So if we're talking like absolutely no sleep at all, like zero.
Not even a
minute,
nap then, say
Not
that.
if
Yeah,
we're
not even
talking
5 minutes, and
0
we'll talk
minute.
about the other next, yeah?
It's around 60 hours.
No way!
Yeah.
60 hours.
What? And you're pedaling, all that, you're moving.
Yeah.
Not 60 hours.
60 hours.
Not 60 hours. That's nearly 3 days.
That's 2.5 days, yeah.
That's how on earth? That's not even humanly. It is possible.
I did it several times.
Good God. How do you feel after 60 hours riding a bike?
Well, the first time that I did it, I felt pretty bad. But no, yeah, I mean...
What's the decision like? Is it 60 hours on the clock? I'm going to pass out here, or how do you get to? I just don't. What's the cutoff point? Why not 65? Why not 70? Like at that point.
Well, because if you start in the morning after 60 hours, it's dark, and you can just go to bed in a nice bed and just like.
Oh, is that right?
Well, because
Time you sleep for 4 hours and you get to go.
4 hours. Is that all you sleep for?
4 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
You rarely get more than 4 hours.
No way.
do you try to plan it out to say I'm gonna sleep 60 hours in or 50 hours in, and then I think I can do 4 hours here. I can do it in like 2 stints or something like that.
I used to have like game plans.
Yeah.
Sleep strategies. I used to have like sleep strategies saying, all right, I'm not gonna sleep for like 60 or whatever, or like 48, whatever. But then like I'm a bit more flexible now. I determine it like if I feel like after, I don't know, if I have like one sleepless night and then the next day I feel like I need a nap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah.
And what's a nap comprised of? How
15
long?
minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes,
You
yeah.
allow yourself a whole 15 minutes after pedaling
then-
through the night on a bicycle.
And then if I need another 15 minute nap, I'm gonna get it.
And that
But
makes a colossal difference, I'd imagine, does it?
it just keeps you awake.
That's what it does.
Because sometimes when I mean, it depends on the conditions, but sometimes, you absolutely need to, get this 15 or 30 minutes of sleep just to stay awake. Because otherwise, you can't focus. You're just drowsy on the
You get to a point
handlebars
where
and-
you have to, like, now's the time I got to sleep.
And I used to fight it. I used to be like, I know that if I get through that state where I'm really drowsy and I don't know, start listening to punchy music, or if I start singing, then I know I can get through that. But then I realized it's only 15 minutes.
Wait.
It's not like I absolutely need these 15 minutes. They're not going to make a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I need that nap, I'm gonna take that nap now. I experienced a lot with sleep, and I went to a couple times to delirium states. Like I was delirious, like literally
on the bike, moving.
On the bike, I was like in a semi-conscious
I need
state.
you to tell. I heard you tell a story about you were in Italy.
Italy, yeah.
You have to tell this story because
So
this is
it's the
most
first
insane thing.
bikepacking race that I won, and we were going toe to toe with a guy named James Hayden, and every time I slept, he would catch me, and I didn't sleep a lot.
Was he not sleeping then?
He was sleeping, but he was riding faster. And then I think it was the last night. I was like, if I go to sleep now, it's gonna catch me. I have a cushion. I need to keep going.
Imagine the pressure.
So I kept going, and then I lost it. So I was riding on that. It was a cycling path, and I was riding, and then at some point, I was in a semi-conscious state. And even though my body was moving and my legs were turning, my brain thought that I was actually sweeping that cycle path, that I had my little broom.
Not really.
I was sweeping it. And my brain was like, what are you doing? You're just sweeping. You can stop now, because sweeping is like, what kind of job is that? You don't need to sweep that cycle path. And it was basically a battle between my brain and my body. It was like my brain was trying to convince my body to stop, or one part of my brain was trying to convince the other part to stop and sleep.
Right.
So my brain was just trying to find good reasons to say, well, given what you're doing, you might as well stop, And it's really hard to gauge how long I was semi-conscious for, but it happened to me the next year in Switzerland as well.
Did it?
And then I stopped just like experimenting like that. I just like was okay. I need to sleep more.
It's dangerous at that point, isn't it? It does carry some risk, especially if,
I would like never do it on the open road.
No, that's right.
Never do it. Like, no. I mean,
but even in the middle of nowhere, it's still not ideal, is it, to be completely out of your mind?
it's not ideal, but yeah, you snap out of it at some point.
Do you?
I mean, I experienced it a couple times, and it lasts for maybe, I don't know. It's hard to gauge. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. You move really slow during that time. Your legs are pedaling, but you move really slow. And again, not ideal.
But when you went 60 hours, then you set off in the morning, you rode through the night, through the next day, through the next night, through the next day, and then went to bed for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sofiane?
Yeah.
Sofiane, did you ever did you ever fall asleep while you were riding? Has that ever happened?
No, it never happened. No, it never happened to me. I mean, it happened to me like in that race in Italy. I was in my aero bars. And aero bars is the worst when you're drowsy.
It feels like you're laying
Oh,
down.
It's heaven, isn't it?
Yeah, you're like, you want to go to sleep, and you're like, oh yeah, it feels so good.
It's pulling you in.
And I was like, okay, don't fall asleep. Just focus on that next light. You know, I was staring at the lamppost. I was like, okay, just focus on the lamppost. And then the lamppost was gone. Like, you focus on the lamppost, and then the lamppost is behind you, and you have no idea what happened.
Traveled.
Yeah, you have no idea how you get to. So I was kind of asleep, but like I never got off my bike because I fell asleep.
Yeah.
I was always in control of my bike, even when I was losing a little bit of consciousness there.
Do you think that is kind of what makes a difference in ultra endurance races, is that ability to suffer or endure pain, or like, is it I guess the mental side of it? It sounds like that is so important to be able to push yourself through that stuff.
It is a decisive factor for sure. There are others. You can still be like really, really good at ultra cycling, even if you're not able to ride through the night. I mean, some really successful racers will sleep 4 hours every night, or maybe 2 or 3 if the race is short.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ability to endure pain, for sure. You're gonna experience pain and discomfort bikepacking. That's a guarantee. So that ability is absolutely key to be successful in bikepacking. But for me, like, to be the best and to be like winning material, it's also how bad you want it. That's maybe like the biggest factor.
Because that'll
like
drag
how
you through
bad
almost
you want it.
anything. If you want it bad enough.
If you want it bad enough, then just like the discomfort, the pain, you know, that it's just part of the journey. You don't even pay attention to it.
It falls
you know
aside.
that you're going through it, and everyone is going through it.
Right.
Like nowadays, when I'm racing and I'm doing something that is gnarly, like I'm hiking for a couple of hours or even 4 hours, and it's freezing cold, and I'm like, I don't even care, because I know that everyone is gonna do it.
Right.
And that's a given, and you have to do it to win. And if you have to do it to win, I will do it, because that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is that what you feel like? If you were to say, what is your superpower? What is it that makes you better than your closest competitor?
I would say that's how bad I want it.
Yeah.
Because we are all very talented. We have all an incredible ability to endure pain, endure discomfort, to be mentally really focused. Of course, an incredible ability to not get injured despite riding 18, 20 hours a day. We all have that. And I would say that if you take the roster at the start of the race, there's not a lot of races where I'm going to be the better cyclist, the better athlete. But what sets me apart and what makes me win all of these races is just like I want it really, really, really bad, and
you'll go 60 hours without sleep. But that is
have
a result
to.
of.
If I have to,
that's
yeah,
right,
I will.
yeah.
And
What's it like at the start of a race? Is it a mass start, these races then? Do
Yeah.
you see these riders you say that are like better cyclists they clear off, right? They're gone. They go ahead of you, but you know then you're going to catch them overnight because you won't stop. Is that how it is? Or
Sometimes that's how it is. It really depends who's there at the start.
You know each other pretty well, right? And strengths and weaknesses.
It's a good atmosphere. It's really friendly. There's a lot of, we all know each other. There's no bad blood. We're all friends.
Well, the competitor is the challenge. Is the course laid out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. There's no need for you not to get on really.
And we know that. Also you know that it's not because you're gonna cut a corner that you're gonna win the race. You know that's not how it works. So
do you get people cheating ever? Putting it in the van for 100K? I mean, that's the sort of thing I'd like to think I'd do. Sleep.
The thing that comes to Rob's mind is like,
how do I get around this? I mean, do you have GPS on though, do you, and stuff, so they know where you're at?
We do. We do have trackers, GPS trackers. So if you get on a van, the van needs to move at 15 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, you're gonna get busted.
Good tip, everyone.
No, I never heard of someone like purposefully hopping on a van. I did hear of someone sleeping in a van. It's not allowed.
I got you. You're supposed to. Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, if you say I'm doing a race in the southwest of France, so I have many friends, and
there's vans everywhere.
And I meet a friend that is his van. Is like, yeah, you can sleep in my van because I have it's gonna be comfortable for you. I have a mattress.
It's pouring with rain.
I was like, yeah, I'm not allowed to do that.
I didn't know that.
Because that's not the unsupported way, and because I would have an edge over any other competitor that doesn't know anybody on the course.
That's right.
So guy that was caught on photography, sleeping in a van, it was clearly breaking a rule of bike packing. Sure.
Yeah, because you can't even somebody can't even hand you water or anything like that, right? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, there's something that they call trail magic. And it's not like we have like a unified body and unified rules. There's like a general set of rules that everyone agrees upon, and then there will be organizations that will tell you, yeah, if someone hands you water, you should say no. But other organization will be like, well, within reason.
Yeah.
Trail magic, you can say yes. And my point of view on that is if you're like badly dehydrated because of your own miscalculation of bad planning, and somebody hands you water and it's gonna make a big difference, then maybe you should say no, because then somebody's saving you from your own mishap.
That's right.
And that's not supposed to happen. But let's say if you're just
45 degrees.
Meeting someone, you still have water. It's not gonna make a big difference, and they're just friendly, and you want to accept the gesture. We're humans, they're just trying to make a connection with you. It's a nice gesture. You can just say yes, and if it's not gonna make a difference, then you can do it. But you also you need to find like the boundary for that trail magic. For example, if I go on race Tour de Vie.
Trail magic's actually a term that you use, right? It's like the grey area on the edge of the rules.
There's a grey area because sometimes it's not that magical. Like if I go on race Tour de Vie and I'm first and I'm a very well known racer.
Yeah.
I can do a lot of miles without resupplying because there's going to be a lot of people that will meet me to give me food. So if I start accepting all of that trail magic, it's not really magic anymore. So then it becomes,
now I understand it.
It really becomes a matter of having your own ethos and be like, okay, if I start accepting all of the resupplies from random people that are on the course, and I know that they're on the course because they just want to see the leader, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If they're on the course because they live on the course, and they will be there for every racer, then it's a different game, because be like, all right, this is a level playing field. Everybody will be able to take advantage of that resupply, so I can too. But if someone is like just out for you, then my feeling and the feeling of most top racers is that you should say no.
Yeah, and it's almost an agreement between you, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
and
written
it's-
down anywhere, but that's how you do it, and you trust all the other guys to do the same.
Yeah, there's very few rules that are written down. And
Yeah.
if you look at the Tour Divide rules, for example, they say that trail magic is to the appreciation of the rider.
Sofiane, one of the most high-profile victories you've had so far is the Silk Road mountain bike race, or I guess mountain race, I should say. What is that race? Where does it go from and to, and how did it feel to take that victory?
So it's a race that happens in a really small country of Central Asia that is called Kyrgyzstan, that is caught between Uzbekistan and China, and it's a very mountainous country. It's bordered by two mountain ranges, the Tian Shan in the north and the Pamir in the south. And the Silk Road Mountain Race started for the first time in 2018. It was put together by a guy called Nelson Trees. And it's usually around, the course changes every year, but it's usually around 1,700 to 1,900 kilometers.
Wow.
And it's off-road, like 80% off-road. And it's brutal. It's gnarly. You get, it's really hot in the valleys.
Is it?
Yeah, like 35 degrees heat in the valleys at 800 meters of elevation. And then it gets really cold because you climb passes that are 4,000 meters high. I got even caught in a snowstorm once.
No way.
Yeah,
Crazy.
in the middle of August.
Different ecosystems.
You're like, it starts snowing, you're like, okay, this might be a problem.
Would you, I guess, pack differently for that
Oh yeah,
race
you
versus,
do.
versus like Tour Divide?
You do, because you know that the conditions change very fast because
Yeah.
of the high altitude, and
That's hard
also
to pack for, right?
yeah, and also there's very few people that live in Kyrgyzstan, especially on the course.
Right.
So there's very few opportunities to find shelter. So let's say if you want to like take risks on Tour Divide and you go without a sleeping bag.
Yeah, totally.
You can actually do it because you know that you're gonna find shelter. You're gonna find what they call the Tour Divide Hilton.
Are you allowed to like stop inside?
Tour Divide Hilton.
Tour Divide Hilton. Do you know what the Tour Divide
No,
Hilton?
what's this?
No, but that's a funny.
It's the camping toilets.
That's okay. You're allowed to use those.
You're allowed to use those because they're everywhere. And anyone can sleep in that pit
You
toilet.
go in, you're like, oh, that it's full. The hotel's no vacancies.
So there's lots of campgrounds in the United States. If you've never been, there's lots of campgrounds. It's a nice infrastructure, and some of these campgrounds have toilets. You know, like a nice little building. And if you're lucky, you hit the Tour Divide Hilton, and you get to sleep indoors if you want to. But it's not going to happen in Kyrgyzstan.
Right.
So
No
like,
Hiltons
say
over there.
you can like count on the shelters that are available on Tour Divide. You can't really count on the
Have you
shelters
done
that
Tour
are not.
Divide without a sleeping bag?
I did, yes.
Of course you did. So you really slept rough for the amount of... How long were you...
I had my fair share of Tour Divide Hiltons.
So is the Silk Road Mountain Race, is that considered one of the most difficult?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have all of the factors. First of all, the trail is absolutely horrendous. Like, it's really slow going. It's really rough. You're gonna have several hour-long hiker bikes. You're gonna have the weather. You're gonna have the elevation. You're gonna have the remoteness. You're gonna have the risk of food poisoning. Food poisoning is the main cause for people quitting the Silk Road Mountain Race.
Wow.
It's hard to get clean water in those sorts of places, or not? Is it a problem for you?
Clean water, I wouldn't say it's a big problem because there's a lot of mountain streams. It's just like you're gonna stop and eat some food in a yurt camp,
Yeah.
and if your stomach is not built for it, you're gonna suffer.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And the kind of food poisoning that you get there, it's bad. It's really bad.
Probably not ideal during the event, trying to ride a bike and knowing that every minute you're stopped is not good, right? It's like, have
It
you
has
had...
happened to probably 50% of the field there.
Well, I guess that's almost part of it. Like, even if you have food poisoning, you're still riding?
Well, either
try?
it depends the kind of food poisoning you got. Some of that food poisoning is really gnarly, and people just quit because
Yeah.
there's like
You got it though. There's a limit, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
what
if
you
you're,
can
if you're,
push
if you're
through.
puking, and if
Yeah.
you're, and if you have diarrhea, and if you're just like, if you drain of all of your fluid,
You've had
you
it.
can barely stand up. Like maybe you could ride, but what would be the fun in that? You know, And, like you would drag yourself for
We were
a few
talking
weeks,
to-
whatever.
I just need to be in bed.
We were
Yeah.
talking to Lael, and she was talking about that. I don't remember if it was food poisoning, but she was talking about how she had like puked on her bike, and she was like, "Well, I could stop, but then I would just be sitting here, and if I rode, then I would be further ahead than I am now."
Yeah, but that's the mentality. Yeah, it's just
If you can ride, you're
madness.
just fine. If you can do it, if your legs are able to pedal, you pedal. Yeah. But yeah, so all of these factors make the Silk Road the most challenging. And most people that go to the Silk Road, the only goal is just to finish.
Yeah.
And most people actually do not finish. But it's just like, yeah, there's all of these difficulties that are there that are like built in the race and that make it a really, really tough challenge.
And you say it's around 1,000 miles then, 70.
Yeah, a little bit more than 1,000
Massive
miles, yeah.
elevation changes, tough
Yeah.
going. How long does that take you? How long is that event?
It's
for
going
you?
faster and faster every year. I did it 3 times.
You've won it 3 times,
I
haven't
won
you?
it 3 times.
So you've never lost it?
No.
The times
And I intend to keep it this way.
some boy didn't even mention the fact he's unbeaten at the Silk Road, where everyone he's done, he's won.
Yeah.
Why is that one? Why is that the one? Like, why is that your race?
All right, so I said everything that is bad about the Silk Road Mountain Race. What I forgot to mention is everything that is just unbelievable and is how beautiful, how remote, how quiet it is. It's just like, it's one of the most wonderful places on earth. When you're riding your bike there and you have these like infinite valleys and the snow-capped peaks, and it's just like wild horses on your left, and
A landscape you can't even imagine.
no, you can't.
Kind of,
imagine
right?
it. Like,
Yeah.
So I do videos. I have my GoPro when I race, and I do videos for my YouTube channel. And my girlfriend is a video editor, and she gets the footage, and then she edits it for
sick.
YouTube.
I'm gonna check 'em out.
And every time she edits the video, she's like, "I can't believe it."
Yeah.
Really, it's that insane.
Like,
Is it
when
really?
I mean, like she hates off-road cycling, and she's like, "I need to go there someday."
Do
Like,
you?
yeah, you need to go, but you need to get into off-road cycling. first.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's just absolutely magical.
Is there a specific, I guess, stretch of trail that you think about that is like the most beautiful, the most magical?
There is one valley that is called the Burhan Valley, and yeah, it's like really wide, and you have that river that's like kind of a stream at first, becomes a river, and that runs through it, and then on your left and your right you can see these like really high mountains, and it's all greenish, and there's lots of horses, and then there's a few yurt camps, and you're there and you're like, where am I?
Yeah.
What is this place? You know, it's just
So remote,
magical,
so
and
different.
I mean,
so
it's-
remote, and it's like the time I stopped there.
Yeah.
Like people that live there well, first off, they just live there a part of the year when it's not like covered in snow. So it's just like during the summer, they come with their herds, whether it's just horses or goats or sheep, and they just stay there for a few months when they can. And they have yurts, and just, there's no signal, no electricity, whatever. And they're just doing what they've been doing for hundreds of years.
That's it.
And you're there, and nothing has changed there.
That's their way of life. That's what
Yeah,
they do.
that's their way of life. And
Yeah.
you're traveling. You've traveled in space, and you've also traveled in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow. It's just like nothing happens here. I'm here, and there's nowhere else in the world where I'd rather be at this moment than this place.
Yeah. I mean, it's back to how the reason you got into cycling in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
that sense of
I just thought you
adventure.
explained exactly then
Yeah.
why you do it, right? That's kind of probably the biggest draw, is it? To be on a bicycle and just in the middle of nowhere. Is that like, that's the biggest thing you take from it? The most pleasurable thing from it?
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because I was born in the suburb of Paris, grew up there, lived in Paris my whole life, and I just live in around 10 million people. That's where I spend my time.
Yeah.
So whenever I found a way to escape, I was like, this feels pretty good.
So now what has it been like to be a professional? I guess there are a lot of different ways to be a professional cyclist, right? Like you can compete and be on the top step of the podium. You do a lot of content and media stuff like that. You know, we talked to Matt Jones, who's on YouTube. What is being a professional bike packer? What does that look like?
First off, it's a dream job. Honestly, I get paid to ride my bike. It's just like I couldn't dream of a better life.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? You don't miss cycle courier and you're happy doing this?
Yeah,
this
I don't really miss cycling courier because, first of all, Paris is now a chaos of a city. So I don't think that I could work there anymore. And yeah, now I get paid to ride my bike anywhere in the world.
Right. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I mean, I love.
Same thing without the traffic.
Yeah, I love being a bike courier.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not. It's not a job that I'm going to diss. I loved it.
Yeah.
But there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
And my time as a bike courier is over, and I don't regret it. I don't miss it. And yeah, now I just I go on races. I also go on my own bike packing trips. What I like to do is like when I start a race is sometimes ride to the start or do a little trip beforehand. And then create content for Instagram, for YouTube, and that's my life, and it's a pretty sweet life.
Has the sport, like the discipline, gotten more professionalized? Like, have you seen the discipline change?
Yeah. Like when I started, it was just a bunch of guys winging it.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a bunch of adventure cyclists going as hard as they could and sleeping very little, but adventurers. And now more and more you see structured training, coaches.
So do you have a coach? Do you have structured training? Because you strike me as someone who doesn't.
No. I tried it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I tried it.
But do you ride hours and hours every day then? Because you're an endurance athlete of the most epic nature there is on planet Earth. Like no one does endurance like what you do. So
right.
Surely you need to train to that sort of level.
Yeah. So what I do, I don't really like structured training. I don't really like having someone telling me you're gonna go and ride 2 hours at 200 watts on Friday, and then on Monday you're gonna ride 6 hours at 180 watts. Yeah, not really my thing. What I do is I know I need to ride my bike, obviously.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm between two houses at the moment. I'm moving away from Paris. I bought a house in the south of France. So yeah, when I go to my house, instead of getting out at the station that is 20 kilometers away, I'm gonna get out at the station that is 100, 150, 200, 250 kilometers away. It's like, all right, let's ride now. And of course, at some point, I'm just gonna ride from my new house to Paris, which is gonna be 600K. I know it's gonna happen. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I know
You can't wait.
Like maybe, but probably soon. But
you don't get up every day and go ride 8 hours then?
No.
I just don't even understand how you can sort of stay at that. You just,
Because the thing is, what I do is a lot about what's in your head. What I do is a lot about how mentally resilient you are.
I agree. But you've got to have the physical side. You can't ride 16 hours.
I still ride my bike. But to train for a race where you're going to ride 18 hours a day, you don't need to actually ride 18 hours a day.
No, I can see that. Yeah.
And it's that part of the game that is so about being mentally really tough. You're not training that with a coach. You're not training that doing intervals.
It's you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's your experience in life. It's your experience in races. It's how bad you want it, and it's especially in races like Silk Road Mountain Race, where it's so many factors, where it's so much about pushing, going the extra mile. Right now, it's really tough. Or for example, when I won Tour Divide in 2020, what was it? 2022. The weeks prior to the start of the race, a ton of snow fell in Canada, Montana, Wyoming. So basically, every pass that I cleared for the first 4 or 5 days of the race were covered in snow. And I ended up walking so much. I would hike through snow, post-holing for sometimes 2.5 hours.
No way.
Doing it several times a day. because there were several passes every day.
You have no other choice.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're like, yeah, well, I'm gonna do it because if I want to win, am I enjoying it? That's not the question. It's not even a question I was asking myself. I was like, the path here is covered in snow. The only thing I can do is walk. I'm gonna walk, and it's just a matter of, are you willing to do what it takes to clear that path to win that race? And it's not like doing interval training is not going to help you much for when you have to hike a couple of hours in the snow.
No, you're dead right there. That is definitely more of a mental thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Sofiane, it's interesting that you talk about the mental aspect because that kind of transfers across every discipline of science. I mean, every sport in general. And it is also interesting because you, almost more than any other type of athlete, kind of spends more time in your head, right? You're doing your sport for so long. And what does it really take? Like, what has the mental progression been like for you? Like, when you think about the mental fitness, I guess, right? Like, I'm sure that you weren't as mentally tough the first time you did Tour Divide. And so, like, what's that progression been like and what has changed?
The first time that I did Tour Divide, there was this hike bike that lasts for about 15 minutes, and I was bitching the whole time. Now I do hike bikes that last for 4 or 5 hours, and I don't even care.
Like, I guess that's something, because that's something that, like, all of us, right? Like, how do you go from complaining about 15 minutes? Because I complain all the time. Like, how do I not complain if I'm doing 4-hour hike bikes?
Because, I mean,
is it really just like willpower?
It is, and it is also, I know why I'm doing it. Like if I were to be on a bike packing trip by myself and hike for 4 hours, whoa, I would be very, very mad.
Yeah.
I would be extremely mad at my routing.
Yeah.
I would be like, this is not good.
Right.
But a race is not about having fun 100% of the time.
Sure.
A race is about a result. And I would say it's...
doesn't go with the ethos of bike packing in some ways. And also, did you discover this mad, as we're finding out, competitive streak in you? It feels like you found it out quite a bit later in life than most of us. You know what I mean? Like you found your own way. And I don't know, I was racing, you were racing bikes since we were 4 or 5 years old. We've always been competitive. But for you, it came later, it feels.
It came really late because I had no idea it was good at sports.
That was it. That was what it was. Yeah, is that what it was?
When I was in high school, I sucked at sport.
You did not, though, because you're an incredible athlete. It seems mad to me that
we were not cycling when I was in high school. We were playing football, and I really suck at football. And ping pong, and I really suck at that.
Two left feet.
Anything that need coordination, I'm not. That's not my thing.
I feel you.
So that's why you found it, but almost by mistake later on in life.
I was brought up by immigrant parents that absolutely wanted me to be successful in school. And they were very demanding, and they knew that I was a smart kid, and they knew that I needed pushing. And they were like, you need to be first of your class because you're a smart kid, and you can do it. So every time they pushed me, like they checked my homework every time, and for me it was a duty to be the top student.
Yeah.
And they raised me with this need of being better than others. But it just translated not to school because at some point I found that I didn't really care about school. But when I found something that I really cared about, that's when it got out.
You came alive.
That's when the way that I was brought up about you have to be better than others. That's when it was like, oh, it surfaced there. It was like, okay, I need to be better than all these guys. That's incredible. Is my thing. Yeah. And I mean,
you've carried that through your entire life.
I carried it through my entire life until I found the thing where it was needed, where I could actually get that mental strength and the way that I was brought up, and be like, all right, okay, second place is not a good place.
Do you feel lucky that you found something where you could use that quality? Because probably most people go through lives and they never stumble upon what they might be brilliant at.
I'm happy that I found something that I'm very good at. Because I think that the fact that I was brought up this way, I enjoy being good at something.
You fulfilled it now.
But when you're brought up like that, and when you're good at something and you end up winning, it's not like wow.
Right. It's
like, all right, job is done.
yeah. Right. It's like if you meet the goal, it's expected.
Yeah.
If you don't meet the goal, it's devastating.
Exactly. That's exactly
right.
the way it
Yeah.
is. It's like winning. That's the goal. You do it. Usually what happens is I win the race and I have a few seconds when I see that finish line and I know that it's done where I feel ecstatic. And it's like this pure joy that like rises through my whole body, and it takes like, I don't know, a few seconds, and you feel it.
Sure.
And then it's gone. Then it's just like, all right, I did my job. I came here to win and I won.
Yeah.
What's next? You know?
Right.
And even sometimes it's even worse than that. I remember one of my first big wins, which was the Morocco Atlas Mountain Race. I had that feeling, and I knew that I was 5 hours ahead at the last checkpoint, and I won the race. And then James Hayden, the guy that won Italy Divide with me the year prior, finished just 2 hours after me. And I was mad at myself. I was like,
That you had lost 3 hours.
I was like, yeah, it was 3 hours faster than me on the last portion. I was like, I was happy that I won, but I was a bit, not very happy that. Yeah.
But that's how it is. That's how it is. Yeah.
So
that's
what is left for you to achieve? Like, you've won so many of these amazing races.
So what is left for me to achieve? So I won Tour Divide in 2022, and Tour Divide is one of the oldest races that is out there. It kind of like the sport was born in the U.S. with the like the OGs that are Tour Divide, Colorado Trail Race, and Arizona Trail Race. And I love my sport. I love my sport. I love the history of my sport. I respect the pioneers, the figures, the athletes,
brilliant.
champions.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
important.
for me, and I follow all the races, and so for me, it's about now that I won Tour Divide, I want to go back to the origins. I want to win like these OG races.
Do you?
that-
Yes.
Yeah, because
You need
like
to.
they carry all the history.
Right, sure.
You know? And the history
Prestige.
is the history. I mean, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to Silk Road and win it like, a fourth time, a fifth time? At some point, it stops making sense. So
It does. You're right. Yeah. And I guess, does it get to a point where you don't want to go back? Like, you've done
It's
it,
like-
and you've
and also
won it, it's done.
Like, look at Rafael Nadal. How many times has he won Roland Garros?
A lot. I don't even know.
We don't even know. We lost count.
No, that's right.
We lost count.
Right.
Because at some point, it just stops making sense. And at some point, everybody's like, you
Yeah, it's
wanna
true.
Right.
You want to
yeah.
get, can this guy? Isn't he like retired now? So, just like give the other guys a chance. And
Hey, you didn't answer my question earlier, though. The 1,000-mile Silk Road, how long does that take you? then?
So the first time it took me 8 days.
And you
second
said
time
it's
7 days, and third time 6 days.
Wow.
No way. And how was the route easier, or is that the change
Just
in the
like
way you've prepared? And
The competition
Is that right?
every year just like steps up their
pushing
game.
you harder?
They just step up their game every year. Every year I have to be faster, because if I'm not gonna win. It's just like last year was absolutely crazy. Just like so many really talented guys that were hungry, that pushed me, and I couldn't I had to.
How many sleeps did you have?
Rob's favorite question.
Not the first night.
No, it's so interesting to me.
I tried to sleep the second night, but didn't get much sleep.
What? How much? 15
Probably
minutes?
an hour.
An hour.
Yeah. And then the third night, again tried to. I was like in a yurt camp, and what they do there? They have a wood stove, and that's how they heat up the tent, but they don't have any wood. They just have cow dung, and that's how that's what they burn.
What they don't? Is it a little
Yeah, a little.
poignant?
Yeah, a little. But the problem is that it burns really fast. So they bring the tent to like 40 degrees Celsius heat, and then they just let it cool down, And I was like suffocating in that tent.
That's how they do it.
And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna sleep there. So after like spending an hour in the year trying to get some sleep, I just was out. I was like, all right, I'm out.
So day 3, you'd had 1 hour's sleep, and basically, by the end of day 3, you'd had about an hour's sleep.
Probably like I would say around 3 hours of really bad sleep. You know,
Right.
that kind of
So you still had 3 days to go.
Like on your inflatable mattress, and you have one eye open, and like, and then you fall asleep.
Do you get in
for
a
like
bad
5 minutes.
mood when you're tired?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're miserable.
Oh, don't cross me. No. Yeah. Just like, no, I do get in a bad mood.
Yeah.
So
It's just the emotions must be
probably
insane
not
that you go
very
through.
Pleasant to be around when I'm racing.
Well, no, that's fair enough, I think. But let's be honest, man. It's bullshit if you get up. Hey, I've had an hour's sleep. Let's go. Of course it is. Yeah. No. So in the whole 6 days, you'd have only slept 6-7 hours or something.
No,
like that?
probably more. I managed
Towards the end.
I managed to get a hotel. The thing is, like, I slept. I tried to sleep probably every night, but I never get like some like really good sleep where
No.
you just like fall asleep for like 4 hours and it's like a coma.
Yeah.
And like you don't wake up at all. And it's like, and you wake up like, wow, what's happening? Which happens sometimes during a race. Like in Tour Divide, it happened to me. I was like in this really nice B&B, fell asleep. Then 4 hours later, the alarm rang. It was like, where
Didn't
am I?
even feel like
What
you-
happened?
Yeah, I can
Where am
imagine.
Like, yeah, and it didn't happen to me on the Silk Road last year. And part of that is because I broke my phone on like first hour of the race. like 30 minutes in, I take out my phone.
So you ain't got an alarm then, right? So that makes sleeping risky, does it, or not?
It does. So my strategy was like every time I was camping, I would time it with daylight.
So you'd sleep 4 hours before daylight.
Exactly. I was like, okay, daylight's gonna work.
Yeah,
Goodness
wow.
me.
Yeah.
But there was one time I was in a hotel.
This is the
and I was like, so I asked the manager, was like, please wake me in 4 hours. And then you can trust them, but it's
I'm in a race here, mate.
there's a lot of stake.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of stake. So I trusted him a little bit, but not completely. So I would wake up every hour to check the time because we have trackers on the trackers. You can see what time it is.
Gotcha.
Which was also my GPS. I can see the time. But yeah, I would wake up every hour to see the time and to be sure that I didn't.
So you didn't really sleep well.
Yeah,
You didn't. Yeah.
I didn't really like it.
That's mad. It's mad.
And then the last night, I had like this really like super long downhill from 4,000 meters high to probably 1,000 meters. It was like 40K of downhill. And when I got to the last part of that downhill, I was like falling asleep on the bike. It was just horrible.
Was it?
Yeah, and I just wanted to find the nice spot to sleep, like indoors. And I kept riding until I saw a mosque. And I was like, mosque, they're always open. It's great.
Are you allowed to just go and sleep in a mosque?
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's always open. It's absolutely fine. Huh. It's a place where you're always welcomed. And I went to that mosque, and I was not the only guy that actually had the idea to sleep in that mosque. It was like a dormitory. There was like 10 people sleeping there. I was like, dude, all right, again, that's a party.
Yo, Frankie.
Exactly, yeah.
You just getting in or getting up? Oh my god.
So I just slept in that moist for I was so done. Like my brain was fried. I had no idea. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sleep until I'm awake enough that I can take off. And I had no idea. But the guy that was chasing me, I was in the lead. It was the not the last night because we ended up riding the night after that too. But he was chasing me, and I learned afterwards that he was sleeping just 7 kilometers away, like 7 kilometers before I did. And I had no idea to know that because I had no phone.
Yeah, sure.
So I had no idea my brain was like so fried that I didn't even look at the time on my GPS. I just saw the mosque, walked in, helmet on, lay down.
Yeah, there's no time for niceties, is it? You literally go in and collapse.
Just took off my shoes because that's a
right.
respectful thing to do on a mosque.
That's right.
So you always take off your shoes.
No way.
It's so funny. Like one of my last questions was going to be, are you slowing down? But it doesn't sound like you're slowing down at all. There's 3 races that you need to win. Or when are those happening? Are those happening this year or?
So yeah, I'm gonna go for Arizona Trail race in October this year. Before that, I'm gonna race the Highland Trail 550 in Scotland. That's a 900-kilometer long mountain bike ultra with a lot of hiking.
That'll be tough up there. The
Yeah,
trails in
it
Scotland,
is.
they're not like normal footpaths. They're just rocks and nasty.
They're gnarly for sure, and
gonna
the
be
weather
wild.
is usually not that nice here.
Could be. And there's midges.
Oh, midges.
Are
is
you going to
true.
sleep out in the midges?
Yes,
Oh
that's
my
no
goodness
joke.
me, that is
Midges.
another level.
Yeah.
Talk about mental.
Fortitude.
God.
Last year I went to Scotland for that race. I didn't go to give it a proper go because I had been bitten by a dog like a couple weeks before. So I had no training going into that race, and then I had a wound that was threatening to reopen. No, it was not festering, but it was because I was taking antibiotics. But it was
Yeah, it could have been, man. I was
Open a
on
little
the
bit,
right
you know?
path.
So I didn't really, do my best, but I was there for 4 days, just like, because I knew that I would give this race a proper go at some point.
Yeah,
'cause
reccied it. You reccied it.
That's one of my goals, is to win this race for some reason that I it's hard to explain. But
It's a race.
I was there, and I found out about midges. It was my first time in Scotland. I think they said that midges is the reason that Scotland is not invaded with tourists.
Yeah,
and
for
it's probably
sure.
true because it's gorgeous. It's
gorgeous.
magnificent.
True. It's
It's
magnificent.
just breathtaking.
It is, yeah.
I was there and was like, I can ride the train from here.
For the
I
people,
can ride the train
For
home
the
from
people
this
who
place.
don't
Yeah.
know, we know about midges because there's a downhill World Cup in Fort William.
Yeah.
But they're like gnats that are mosquitoes at the same time, and you'll just be standing there. There's like thousands of them.
Oh, you're in a
They're
cloud.
clouds.
Yeah.
cloud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are
That's it.
clouds
Full
of
cloud.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And they
They're
eat you.
tiny.
They're tiny.
Like really, really tiny.
Really
They
tiny.
bite.
They bite.
And like a mosquito bite, if you don't scratch it, in 3 days it's gone.
Yeah.
Midges bite can last you up to a week.
Yeah.
So
It's-
you can be
it's
like
crazy.
literally covered in hundreds of bites
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
like a week.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's not good.
PTSD from that. Actually, just thinking
That wasn't sleeping rough either.
Oh my God, Sofiane, this has been so great. It's so cool. I can't wait to follow some of the races this year.
The research notes I read just before we came on air said Sofiane is, to quote Jack, our researcher, a nutter. Thanks for absolutely confirming that. Yeah, because we have sat down and chatted to a few ultra endurance athletes, and you are all absolute we raced downhill for 3 minutes, so you are at the other end of the spectrum. It's mind blowing to chit and chat to you, and good luck with everything you're doing. But you
We're
are
just
an
built
incredible
different.
person. You are. Yeah, I don't even get it. I can't, as you can tell, I can't get my head around what you do. It's mad, but brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Merci,
me on the show,
monsieur.
guys.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
See you soon.
See you. Bye.